Hey boys, we are back. We have a special episode of Warhammer 2 with Jibber, how I call it, just gonna be talking about stuff. This episode is gonna be about the state of Lizardmen in the current game, which is just after they released a small patch that fixed some of the bugs. The King's Shilling update didn't really affect anything for the Lizardmen. But so you guys know at what point in time this Lizardman is for the set of the game. So we'll be going in depth talking about the Lizardmen. Starting with talking about their factions and their lords, and then we're gonna go into the game. We'll be talking about how the faction is looking right now, strengths, weaknesses, and of course what can be done to improve them. We have Lord Themundi, leading Hexoatl, is one of the initial factions of the game. They did update the slants in one of the updates, but they somehow forgot to update his main trait, which for any experienced Lizardman player, they will tell you is a very weak main trait. Cheaper Temple Guards, which are somewhat less relevant on the unit roster. Of course, guys, as usual, this is talking about legendary campaign experience, so everything else is discarded. So no multiplayer talks or lower difficulty, just strictly legendary campaign experience from pretty much my perspective and opinion. So I was saying his venerated lord effect needs updating. It's fine to keep 50% cheaper Temple Guards, but they should give him the same bonuses a second generation Slan gets. So on top of this, should get additional Winds of Magic Power Reserve, less miscast chance, and experience for the troops every turn. The Lord Themundi trait-wise and magic-wise starts much weaker than a regular Slan Mini Pepe. Especially when it comes to magic. His magic is not really any specialized, and we'll get into more once in the game. We'll talk about it a bit more. Regarding the faction effects, his faction effects are just mist flavor. It's supposed to be a Slan-oriented faction, and nothing that really special regarding that compared to the other Lizardmen. Cheaper right cost, small faction effect bonus. This actually hurts you. Might have a worse relationship with the humans, for example. Cheaper construction cost with start chance 20%. This is okay. This is okay, but the Slan Mage Priest capacity +1 feels like irrelevant. This has actually been changed, so this doesn't do anything anymore. I suggest instead of this, they just make sure that Hexoatl always gets second generation Slans when they use the right to awaken a Slan. And the other factions don't get a second generation guarantee, they get random between the second, third and the fourth generation. So instead of this thing that doesn't work anymore, doesn't do anything, make sure the Hexoatl guaranteed gets a second generation Slan every time they awake a Slan. So put them more towards the flavor of the Slan with the faction. This faction has a tricky start. The distances between the settlements are small. There's could be a lot of random stuff happening. Start-wide is kind of similar to Marathi. There's definitely some RNG and the bad things can happen. There's only so much you can influence it, because as you go for the Saurus, the units are expensive and you can't really get a full army properly, so you'll have a weaker faction strength and they might invite enemies against you. Now you guys can watch the first 2 episodes of my campaign to see, what I'm talking about. But it's a pretty nice location, pretty nice faction. I am happy pretty much with Hexoatl, pretty happy with Lord Themundi, with minus some of the things what we are gonna be talking about today, starting with the faction effect and his trait. It's not up to date, it's behind. Other than that, fine. We have Krogar, who is probably have the best starting location and best faction effects of all the Lizardmen at first glance, first look. You're in a corner of the map, no longer the corner, there are other people here, so it's a little bit different now. We haven't played it since they added. Faction effects pretty straightforward, just cheaper all units, strong buff. His Lord effect very strong, 50% cheaper Saurus. Saurus is basically your unit which guarantees easy, smooth early game. Lizardmen are primarily a melee faction, so getting a strong melee unit from the start is important, and they're 60% cheaper already with him. This can be even further reduced. Extra armor for the dinosaurs. This makes the Stegodons, Carnosaurus much tougher. Even a Dreadsaurian might even look much tougher for him. This is a plus 20 armor is significant, but it's only for his army. So depending which dinosaurs you pick for his army, since he's going Saurus, I would suggest a Blessed Carnosaurus and maybe, you know, a Dreadsaurian. You will not be able to heal them, but you know, you'll just see how much the life magic actually brings to these units. Krogar, same as Themundi, is a very strong lord, but he gets much stronger earlier and doesn't have to rely that much on unlocking stuff. Like I said, the location is a little bit different than what it used to be, but you know, quite unique on the other side of the world. So another great Lizardmen faction here. We have the Hainan, which is marked initial challenges very hard. This faction is, you know, might look a little intimidating to the new player, especially new player to the legendary. But for my experience, when I played it was easy, boring, and I didn't really enjoy this guy that much because that I feel like just they made him a stronger version of a Slan. So I feel like a little bit disappointing there. But this is just more disappointing with the slants at the time. The Hainan is probably even much better now since they changed some of the stuff regarding his mechanic. Regarding his bonuses, he has potentially the best buffs for the long campaign, but this is not that much relevant regarding the Lizardmen campaigns for the long campaign. They're all very powerful in long campaign due to their massive technology tree. This is a, you know, kind of like starts like a flavor campaign with a unique mechanic. You do start in a kind of whack-a-mole position, but from my experience, nothing hard about this campaign. We, of course, at RNG in the early game, you could get unlucky. The Vampire cost is now stronger. The Marcus is there, so this campaign could be even a bit harder now if you're not really experienced with Lizardmen or the Legendary. Especially if you have to use play Lizardmen without the Saurus in the beginning. So not much I can say about this. Just every race should have some flavor, try hard factions, and you know, this one might look like one of them, but it's actually quite easier and stronger faction compared to some other try hard factions. We have Tic-Tac-Toe, another flavor faction. He starts in Southlands, which is quite unique, nice location, and initially when this guy was released, I was disappointed. We dubbed him Tic-Tac Joke. A lot of people were disappointed about this guy, but this guy turned to be a huge surprise. Very fun lord, very fun flavor faction. You can pretty much play his whole army with just flying units. Pterodon spam. His Pterodons can be the strongest in the game of all the Lizardmen, and if you get the Headhunter Jungle Landmark, they even have armor for days. Armor for days. Just I'm talking about regular Pterodons, those that throw javelins. Then you have so much armor and so much versatility with him that they can defeat anything. Of course, recommended this to go a combination of Pterodons and Reproductals, regular Pterodons, but highly recommend you try this faction, guys. It's a lot of fun. Nice flavor. The economy is a little bit slow in the beginning, but you know, slower early game doesn't mean bad. They have a very cool right, which can set movement in quite a surprising advantage every now and then. Just really nice faction. Okay. Muted? What do you mean muted? Just refresh the stream. Not muted here, guys. Microphone check. Kislev check. Okay. We have Nakai the Wanderer. There's a very good thing about this and very bad thing about him. This is one of those factions, you know, I like to put in the category of try hard. It's almost like he was created to provide some kind of different experience, challenging experience, which is both a good and a bad thing. But initial balance impression of my faction, I feel like it's a big miss. Seeing a huge technology tree that's been put for him, half of the technologies seem useless, don't even fit, and the Kroger flavor could be a bit less stronger regarding technologies. I wish he had like one or two more Krogsigor technologies. Krogsigor's technologies, talking about Krogsigors. His economy initially is super slow, which is both a good and a bad thing if you want a different experience, if you want a little bit challenging experience. But I think they just missed a zero somewhere. I think they just missed a zero somewhere. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You will have totally unique Lizardman experience playing as the Spirit of Jungle and the Kind of Wanderer. Is very cool, badass looking, nice animations. I just wish the Croxigors had one or two more technologies buffing them, and his economy very early is it feels like they missed a zero somewhere. So I will not be surprised if they do buff this a bit, because it's obvious that there's a number missing somewhere. But it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because it provides a unique experience. Even a bad technology tree and a bad economy, could be a good thing, because you get a different experience. We get Gorog here. Gorog here is probably the best Lizardman faction for a new player, and also the best faction for a new player to the game or legendary. You start with Lord Krog, who is the annihilator, obliterator, destroyer, the ender of infantry. Any faction that has infantry will absolutely have zero chance, zero chance dealing with Gorog and Lord Krog, or Lord Krog in general. Lord Krog is immensely powerful, some nice companion effects to make things convenient, and just destroyer of infantry. You deal with easier opponents in the beginning. You have the greatest city of Lastria, Itza, and if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. This is great into legendary, great into Lizardmen. Not much to say this. Not really any disappointment here about this. This is just nice done, nice done. Only things I had could have said differently about this guy. One of his items is absolute crap, useless, and his quest battle on the highest difficulty. I don't know how it's on low difficulty, but his quest battle is almost impossible without the right stuff. So it looks like they have not really balanced it for the highest difficulty, because the AI will just suicide their lords and you cannot just lose the battle by default. So this is the only bad things I can say about this, but otherwise a great faction, great addition to the game. Total hit here. We're going to go into the campaign and talk about things a bit. I guess doesn't matter who really can go into the game. Just we're not gonna go with the Spirit of Jungle. Pretty much said what had to be said about him. I wish to see two more Kroxigor technologies, one or two more Kroxigor technologies, making Kroxigors even better. And his economy is in such a bad state that it feels like, somebody missed a zero somewhere in the campaign. Like I said, not a bad thing. If you're experienced in the game, this could be a great thing, so you get a totally different experience playing a Horde faction and a Lizardman faction. So we're not gonna go into the game with him. We're not gonna be checking the mechanic here. It's just very powerful. They made it even more powerful. We're going to go into Gorog here with Itza. We're gonna talk about the Lizardmen skills. We're gonna talk about the lords, the technology. With Itza, I feel like we should have just maybe even loaded our Hexuatl campaign, which actually just feel like better. Yeah, actually that's my bad. My bad. We just loaded the Hexuatl campaign. I totally forgot we need to show something else there. Yeah, just ignore this. Get rid of this. We're talking about the state of the Lizardmen in the current game, which is the shilling update, King Shilling update. Yeah, replenishment is another issue with Nakai. Uh, they have two system replenishment, and the wrong one is not. Both are not getting buffed by the replenishment tax. So, but that's a horde or a horde issue. So let's start to talk about pretty much their. Where the hell is Mazdamundi? Mazdamundi is here. So we'll start with the campaign skills. They pretty much copied this area from the Empire, so pretty much nothing special. Usually just go 3 points in Disciplinarian and 1 in Fervent to get Draft Master, a Lightning Strike, Demonic Sustenance, and Renowned Feared. They do have Renowned Feared, they do have Upkeep Reduction, so campaign skills are pretty strong. This just missed a lot of flavor here. This is just lazy copy pasta. One of these skills could have been even better campaign movement range if inside a jungle climate. Like just one of these skills would provide like 30% more campaign movement range inside a jungle climate. So the Lizardmen are not having real bad problems traversing the jungle. The reds and the dwarves and the beastmen have much better mood in the jungle. So kind of some missed flavor and balance issue, because the Lizardmen don't even look that strong in the jungle. They look like one of the weaker factions in the jungle. Their large units have penalty in the trees, forest, jungle, like for example the Minotaurs of the Beastmen don't. But you have Renowned and Feared, you have Demonic Sustenance. These things kind of speeds up the early game. You're gonna take it out much, it's no brain. Campaign skills are solid. Campaign skills are solid. I just wish one of these skills here would provide movement range bonus, maybe line of sight inside a jungle climate. So pretty much the only thing I would like to see on the campaign skills. Regarding the battle skills, the Proud Warrior is like makes the early game so much easier. So much easier. The Saurus this is primarily a melee faction with some other additions, and you need to make sure your melee units actually fight and win. Fight and win. And when you're playing on Legendary, the enemy have massive bonuses, something like 20%, and they experience every turn. And when you look at the base stat Saurus, they're actually quite weak compared to like a unit like Tumgard, for example. You have 29, 34. This attack, look at this attack, 29. So what's special about the Saurus warriors? The two things that you'll immediately see what is special is massive health and massive weapon strength. That's the two most special thing about the Saurus: massive health and massive weapon strength. They lack everything else. Everything else. Nearly everything else can be buffed except speed. There is a special skill on Krogar and the old one Saurus, which increases speed of the all units in the army. But the massive stats what you get might be a little bit expensive in the early game, but they're worth it. The moment you increase their attack with the bell skill, they kind of lose that disadvantage. That's +8 attack, and they get 10% more armor. So getting dead and getting defense, damage, and further attack here, the moment they get these two attack buffs here, they get experience more consistently, and they just carry the early game, makes everything go nice, smooth, and easy. And if you are lucky enough to unlock the Blessed Ones, which have even more attack and more damage and more armor piece damage and more massive health, these Blessed Saurus Warrior Shields, one of the best units in the game. They're part of the random events, missions you get. Sometimes you have to get captives, kill enemies, raise sex cities to unlock the Blessed units. The Blessed units are just much more powerful versions of the regular units. Not everyone, but we'll go talk into the units in a bit. So this campaign, this battle skill is just very strong, and it doesn't really matter that some of these are just then flavor. You have a Sacred Guardian, which is for Kroxigors and the Temple Guards, which come in after the Saurus, and Kroxigors kind of have the same role as the Saurus, just weaker, while the Temple Guards only better than the Saurus when they're blessed or when you're fighting large units, which is later in the game. So less relevant. So you don't go both Proud Warrior and the Sacred Guardian, you just pick one. So this skill gets to be much weaker, but it's solid skill in general. 8 attack and defense for these units. Make these units work. Kroxigors Temple Guards will work with this skill, but this skill makes it just a little less relevant just because how effective the Saurus are. The Skirmisher, you have the one for the flavor units. I guess you would go this one with the Hainan, or if you really like Salamanders, this is probably the weakest battle skill they have. So outside the Hainan and the flavor, this one is not that good. I think this skill should get another buff. Should add also 8 attack for all these units, and it should be more viable out, not just some kind of forced flavor just because you want to see these units. If it was 8 attack on this, it would not even cause any balance issues or anything. It would actually just make these units a viable option. So 8 attack to the skirmisher to these units. This attack could also be added to technology, but more about this later. We're taking a look at the skills now. Swift Rider was okay before they added Reproductals. It would be mainly picked for the Blessed Spear Riders and the Blessed Hormones, which are very good units. The Blessed Hormones is the probably the highest damage units that Lizardmen have. Massive stats, it's like the Battalion Elite Cavalry tier. So it's a pretty good one now with the Reproductals, because the Reproductals are worth considering, and you never know when you can unlock the Blessed Hormones, which make these units go faster, and 12% weapon strength is just... you have a room for 3 skills, and this is one of those 3 you can pick. So you don't even feel like bad, like buffing units which you might not even unlock in the campaign, like the Blessed Horned ones. We're talking about the Sacred Guardian, the Hunt Leader. It was one of the weaker skills they have, same as the Skirmisher. Until they added Red Saurians and the healing. More like healing. The Fennel Councilsaurus have been nerfed a couple of times because of multiplayer, so they are not really worth a tier 5 slot, and they're not really worth the battle skill. But since the Red Saurian's been added, since you have a healing magic, you have Earth Blood, Life Bloom, and Regrowth, these units are now much better. There's also Blessed Carnosaur, which is great, but random. You might have a whole campaign not unlocking a single one. So this has become a very nice tech. Probably should be best picked together with Proud Warrior. So you have Saurus frontline, and then you have a bunch of Feral Carnosaurus and Red Saurians with a life Slan Mage Priest. And with that, you could pick like a Swift Rider and go some Reproductals or Pterodons. But they do have extra points for some skill. Beast Driver used to be the best one to pick with the Proud Warrior. Just buffs Stegodons, Ancient Salamanders, and Bastillons. This is a very strong skill. It's a no-brain. I feel like I feel like bad picking up Proud Warrior and Beast Driver because it's such a strong option. And I feel like oh, look at that, boring Lizardman campaign, going Proud Warrior and Beast Driver again. Just very strong battle skills. Nothing really needs to be changed about these battle skills, except this one they could add 8 attack to these units on top of everything. But this could also be added to technologies. Lizardmen are primarily melee faction, like I said, and on Legendary you have issues in melee, but that's another episode of Jibber regarding this issue. Regarding the veteran battle skills, all 4 were taken, even in an army where you might not even be using some of them, because there are also regiments are now available for the emergencies, and nice to have 3 buffs for our immediately rank 9 unit, or the Blessed version. The Jungle Dominion is probably the strongest, just giving more weapon strength, armor, and magic resistance for the Saurus and the Temple Guards. Saurus being your primary unit. The Spawn King is a little bit weird. Miss resistance, melee defense, and leadership. For unit like Kroxigors, what they lack is like they lack physical resistance, ward save. They need attack. Missile resistance makes is okay, but I feel like the Spawn King and the Epicentris are kind of weirdly done. They're adding leadership to the units which don't even need leadership. So instead of leadership, it could be attack, for example. It could be just anything other than the leadership. But I guess melee defense and missile resistance is kind of weird to pick here. This does help some of these range units as well. But feels weird getting missile resistance for a unit like Skinks, for example, when they kind of like some other stuff like armor or the attack. Soulbound, probably just the best after the Jungle Dominion. Attack, defense, and missile resistance. Cold ones, Pterodons, Reproductiles. These are all the stats they need. For the Pterodons, it's kind of weak. They forgot about that it's a missile unit, and they get attack, defense. Missile resistance is great though. So they forgot one of these bonuses like missile damage or the reload reduction time. So we have another range unit that doesn't receive any range buffs on a veteran battle skill. This is an issue with several factions, several units. So I would like to see if they would improve like missile damage on the Pterodons rank 7 or higher, because it's a range unit, it doesn't get any range buffs here. Pterodon should not go into melee, it just dies. But overall, missile resistance is nice. For the Blazing Horde ones, this one is amazing. And for the Reproductiles, this one is incredible as well. Epicentris, another weird one. Armor, charge bonus, and leadership for the dinosaurs. They only have massive armor. Charge bonus is kinda not really relevant for the single entities, while the leadership on Lizardmen, like, what? You know, charge bonus is all the bad tier bonus for the single entities, and they get the leadership on top of it. This should have been physical resistance or the ward save instead of leadership. So units like Feral Canos and Dreadsaurians don't have to always be healed to actually be viable. So you might have noticed how when they changed the battle skills of Warhammer 1 factions, when they added physical resistance and ward save on quite a bit of them, well, that was actually power creep on top of on the Warhammer 2 factions, because they don't have this. They don't have this. And I feel like both this skill and this skill could be physical resistance or ward save. I think this one should be ward save instead of leadership, because the Feral Carnosaurs and Dreadsaurians, they need ward save. Even the Ancient Salamander needs it. So as a rank 7 plus higher, actually be get that toughness they desperately need. The Storm Force Field, get rid of the rally and get a nice bubble protection. Pretty good. Totally worth taking if you have a point. Regarding the slant skills, slants been buffed with the different generation buffs, so they're pretty strong now. It's your strongest Lizardman Lord to use after your legendary ones. You have a second, third, and fourth generation. 50, 50, 40. The second one are the best. Third one is 40, 40, 50, 30, still very strong, and the fourth one is 30, 30, 20. Even the fourth one is a very strong trait. They just forgot to add the benefits of this trait to Lord Mazdamundi. Lord Apotheosis just has venerated, which, you know, we talked about at the start of the video. We don't really have to go in detail about the Legend Lord. He's just a very strong melee expert with some magic support. Talked about this already at the start. Regarding the units and buildings, I think it's in a very good state. I probably wouldn't change anything but maybe 2 or 3 buildings. It's like, for example, this building is really bad. The cavalry is some of the weakest option in the campaign due to multiplayer. and this building not adding anything, really, anything. I think this building should give all cavalry of the Lizardmen probably like +5 attack, stackable. So you actually get to build this building. This building, if you don't build it, you don't even notice any difference. Where do you get the cavalry then? Get the Blessed Ones, get the Regiment of Renown. So I would see this building add +5 attack faction-wide to all cold ones, which are Horn ones included. This would be worth considering using even the regular cavalry and be building this building. Another building which is pretty bad is in a minor settlement, Lodestone. This building serves no purpose other than unlocking technology, the Tablet of War technologies. Ever since the Star Chamber was added, this building is become irrelevant. The only thing this building has going is cheaper, but you're gonna find money for Star Chambers. You're gonna find it. Or you're just gonna get a King Chief in a minor settlement. This is a really bad building. Bonus probably should be doubled, and they should add like 2 Saurus warriors with shields and maybe a Feral Stegodon into the garrison. So this should be extra garrison option for the minor settlement. Otherwise, just remove this building. You won't even notice it's gone because it's become so irrelevant since the Star Chamber got released. The Scrying Pool, another building which has a lot of stuff, but it's also a very weak building. The only reason to build this building is to unlock 2 groups of technology. After that, just remove it, and you won't even remember it exists. This building, I also suggest, should be only built in the capital, or it could be the minor city, doesn't even matter. And it should add 2 Temple Guards garrison, maybe 2 Temple Guards in a Reproductile, or 2 Temple Guards in a Pterodon. The Lizardmen have some of the weakest garrisons in the game, because their garrisons are mixed with skinks, and skinks suck for most part, being garrison units. Sometimes you have a clutch and you have to use them at 110% over 9,000 power skinks, but their garrisons are pretty weak. Ever since the AI beginning, that huge experience per turn, and the Lizardmen being primarily melee factions relying on melee in garrison battles, you're not gonna have an easy time. You're going to just lose most battles by default. So I suggest Scrying Pool adding 2 Temple Guards, 1 Pterodon, and Lodestone adding 2 Saurus warriors with shields and 1 Feral Stegodon or Croxigor. So you actually have extra options to build up garrison defenses. Since the garrison primarily focus on melee, the Lizardmen are behind on the garrisons. While when you have units with experience in the army, units with battle skills, that melee weakness, because the set of the game is much less, and when you add on top of that magic like healing, it's almost like it doesn't exist. Regarding the rest of the buildings, nothing really bad to say about the rest of the buildings. I feel like everything else is fine. Reproductiles are worth building. This could be a small bonus to the Terrence reproductiles, maybe just some small bonus, but a little bit more flavor and viability. Also for the skinks, maybe a small bonus so you make skinks viable throughout the campaign. Other than that, everything else is good. I don't think I forgot about anything. Maybe I feel like it's a bug with Hexoth not adding public order, considering every other settlement adds public order. They forgot that, but we're not going to go into bugs here. Regarding units, you immediately get on tier 1 on the building, you get Skink Hordes and the Skink Horde Javelins, which apparently are missile infantry. Well, it's just a very bad density unit that is weak to explosions, with limited ammo, goblin tier melee infantry. There could be various things, to improve skinks to be viable, but some units just exist because of multiplayer. One thing I said, the skirmish battle skill could give them attack. Their buildings for actually, so for them to be viable throughout the campaign, could give all skinks some attack. There are various things to do about this. It doesn't make them necessarily bad units. Every faction needs to have those low tier units where you start. But the fact you have all the Saurus on tier 1, what's the point of even having skins here really? It's like you just get under spawning pool and you just start to Saurus, or tier 2 get them with the shields. So since the Saurus exist, skins are just ignored. And I feel like there should be some flavor towards them, extra bell skill, technology, or buffs on the buildings. Nothing really bad to say about Saurus, they're just very strong. Croxigor's, a flavor unit, they do work, they're just not the best option. The flying units are pretty good. The cavalry, just the issue with the legendary. The horn ones are quite nasty. The blessed ones, which will go in a bit, are really amazing. Definitely must use. So you see that crazy damage and toughness. Now that the healing exists, even stronger. The Lizardmen have a bunch of these monster options. You have stuff like salamander hunting packs, the Razon hunting packs, which not necessarily bad units, but they're also great units. They have small range, and they're kind of like intensive to use. They're not as simple as use as just sending dinosaur into the Saurus and just cast some magic. These units require some effort on the battlefield to get good performance. So it's nice that these units exist, but could easily be ignored because of you have to put micro into them to actually get results. They miss some range, if you ask me. Should be on technologies. A lot of these units, especially the DLC units, kind of fail on technologies. They just went with the lazy way. The Angel Salamander is pretty good. You see the Angel Salamander in the battle, even after the massive nerf, it's still pretty good. Its range capabilities are very flexible, and out of these 3 range ones, of course the Angel Salamander is the best. You just have to micro it to get good effect. But you can use a unit which is easier and gives almost the same result. So, we'll talk about technologies a bit after we go through the units. The Red Saurian is probably one of the most disappointing units the Lizardmen have. It's just so massive and just a worse version of Ancient Stegadon or a fellow Stegadon. And I would like to like this unit, but it's hard to. It's missing stats, defensive stats. It's so huge that it's weak because of it. It's really weak because of it. Even in melee, not just range. Range just deletes it. And if you don't put healing on top of it, primarily regrowth, it's not even gonna be that viable. And it's limited. It's expensive. It's just a big miss. They forgot about it in technologies. The veteran battle skill doesn't give it ward save, physical resistance. Just you make you wanna make you cry really. There's still a chance to fix this, but it's up to the devs. Nothing really bad to say about the Steganons, Bastillions just cheaper options. The fellow Stegan just is probably because of multiplayer. And you have some various options here. One thing to mention, I feel like the fellow Bastillion could be on a tier 2. Otherwise, this in a single player it doesn't serve any purpose. So a fellow Bastillion couldn't be on tier 2. Because why would you recruit a fellow Bastillion if you have access to fellow Stegadon? And the money is not that relevant, really. Not relevant, it's just a single player, multiplayer thing. So a fellow Bastillion on a tier 2 could make this a viable option to go with Saurus. And there's another thing that's a little bit disappointing here. It's the Bastillodon with where the hell is it? Ark of Sodek. I've used this unit a couple of times, and I have to tell you that I have not seen in its effect. It's like it was bugged. The poison, applies, but it's supposed to be doing damage. I have not seen any damage. So the Arc of Zodiac feels a bit disappointing. You have optional solar engine and refurbishing crystals. Not great, not terrible, worth considering. They definitely could work. But then again, you have a Stegodon with a long-range artillery, and then the big guns, the Ancient Stegodon, Ancient of the Gods, and the Feral Carnosaur is here, which is now more viable, like I said, because of the healing. Really nothing bad about these units, just feel like the Feral Bastiodon was on tier 2 and the Arc of Zodiac actually was a viable option. It's just like they added another Bastiodon with something just for the sake of it. Regarding technologies, the Lizardmen have a massive technology tree, and some of things here are missing, and I feel like they should be added. Let's start with something that's already exists, that's not been really added, like the skinks. The skinks, where the hell is attack and defense for the skinks? They do get some 3 defense here. Look at this on a technology even further. Well, these guys have first technology 5 defense here. I mean, it doesn't even that matter, sequence of weakness, that is only +3. So what I like to see, let's start with skinks. I would like to see a skin technology adding both to skin cohorts and other skinks, the skink skirmishers, chameleon skinks. I would like to see +1 armor piercing damage, +1 armor piercing missile damage. It could be added here, just +1 AP, both melee damage and range damage. Just this small change will already make the skins a little bit more threatening, melee attack, range attack, especially the blessed units, and of course garrisons. Just one +1 melee damage, armor piercing damage makes that much difference. Can't believe it, but it does. There's 160 of them and would make all the difference. Just +1 AP damage on one of these skin technologies, and I wish one of these technologies like would have also like attack. Like this could be +3 attack and defense for these skinks, and one other would just +1 AP. That's all I want to see for the skinks. Regarding the Kroxigors, I think the Kroxigors should have a technology that grants them ward save or physical resistance, weapon strength, a charge bonus. It's not even that bad they don't get attack, but because you can get attack from the skill. But +10 armor on top of that armor. This technology should be more. Technologies in this area should be more, especially unit ones. They should have like 3 effects for various units, 3 effects for various units, 3 effects for various units. They should just be more. Kroxigors just need some physical resistance, ward saving technology. The Saurus don't really need anything done to them with technology. The Temple Guards could get like 5% ward save on the technologies maybe. While the units which also don't have much, where the hell are the Reproductiles here? They forgot about Reproduction technology tree? God damn. Only 10% speed. Wow. 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 The Reproductiles should get a technology as well. The one technology that's a joke. That's a bad joke. 10% speed. So Reproductiles should get probably some weapon strength, maybe attack. And like like this one should count for Reproductiles. This one should also count for the Stegodons and Dread Saurians and Saurians. It's like there should be way more buffs. For example, this technology should be changed immediately. This is a very boring technology. It should also affect Stegodons, Feral Carnosaurs, Saurians, even pretty much most of these dinosaurs you see here. They should just give them like 10 phys resist and maybe 10 weapon strength. But a Dread Saurian should be affected on at least 3 technologies, and those 3 technologies should be relevant. You would want to get those technologies and you want to make the Dread Saurian even more viable. It's like all these technologies I feel like should be active for all these units, especially the Bastiodon one. So make all the dinosaur technologies, the Bastiladons, Stegodons, the Dreadsaurian, the Carnosaur, heck, even the Pterodons, Ripperdactyls, Croxigors, even them just work together. Miss resistance, melee defense, attack, charge bonus, physical resistance, weapon strength. Make sure they all get buffs, not some boring stuff like 8% miss resistance for Bastiladons and 5 melee defense for Bastiladons, and that's it. That's all the Bastiladons get. And then you got see 5 attack, 15 charges, all the Stegodons get. And then there is 10% upkeep at the end. Who cares if you reach this point? Who cares about the upkeep anymore? Nobody cares. It's only a follower that gives upkeep. All the money technologies, expansion give you more money. Battle is gonna give you money. Building is gonna give you more money from the battle loot. This technology should be massive for the dinosaurs. Massive. All the dinosaurs should be getting various bonuses. Not make huge. Just make one huge technology for the Dreadsaurian, and the rest of them they should just all work together. All these technologies, they should all be all dinosaurs, all dinosaurs, all dinosaurs. Not this lazy, boring system. Just like, who even done this probably hates Lizardmen. He's a Lizardman hater. So yeah, a little bit less of this lazy, boring fuck technologies and more like fun technologies that make sense and make you want to use these units and maybe make you want to have fun with these units and not just look at your guy losing to 3 spearmen just because he's been forgotten technologies. This is an issue with DLC units. They always seem like low effort, half-assed implementation technologies. Primary example of this, Dreadsaurian and War Wagon. Just escalating total war. So, regarding this, not really much to say anymore. The rights are pretty okay. Depending, some Lizardmen factions have different rights. Regarding their lords, Crossing Ancients is okay for the flavor. The slants are way now on the top because the healing, just the healing is king for the melee units. So nothing you need to be even considered above the healing one. Okay to have these options for flavor. So the Red Krize King Chief seems like the weakest option, while the Saurus All Blood saves some stuff going for him. But really, it's a melee faction, and you need healing. And the Lord's selection will be limited. You're just gonna get healing, cause why get Saurus All Blood? Cause you can get Saurus Scar Veteran Hero. Why get a Red Krize King Chief? Cause you can get a King Chief. These options are much weaker. While this one is at least cool. I mean, who doesn't like Croxigor Range? They have some really badass looks, armors, helmets, and they smack things. Their attack animations are fun to watch. So Croxigor Ancient, these two should be brought to the tier of the Croxigor Ancient. Well, these are strong. They do have mounts. Lizardmen have very strong heroes, powerful heroes. You can't even sometimes decide where you want to keep the heroes. So in the armies, or you want to put some on the campaign map. You do need some on the campaign map for the scouting, but Lizard has some of the most powerful heroes because of their mounts. And the lords just look like much weaker as an option because there's healing exists. Why would you ever get any of those lords? Because you have access to healing. Melee faction needs healing. Melee doesn't work without healing unless masochist, go play greenskins. Didn't we miss something here, boys? I don't think we missed anything. So, Lizardmen, in short, powerful melee faction. They are strong. They have a different variety of lords, starting locations. Their specialties vary, but it's basically just melee with some support. Now with the healing, they have lots of dinosaurs. Just murder the enemy. You can even shoot them with some ballistas from dinosaurs. They do have a Geomantic Web, which gives them very powerful commandments. This one, their strengths. They're some of the best commandments. They have some of the easiest access to recruit rank 9 units, so you can get +2 ranks here. There are various technologies for the ranks. I think the one for the Saurus actually works twice on the Temple Guards. There's a right on the units. There are buildings which add more experience. So you can pretty much recruit rank veteran units guaranteed, rank 7+, even rank 9. The veteran skill for the hunting pack. Yeah, the range, they don't exist. Yeah, it's like the DLC units, like half effort. It's like the creative assembly have these two teams. One team that is actually good, They actually care, and you have the second team which they are bad at their job. They're probably from a historical war and they want to make the Warhammer fail, and they don't do their job. Bunch of janitors and interns. It's like pretty much what it is, guys. Historical team just, you know, undermining the great Warhammer series. If I miss something, guys, make sure to remind me. This video will also be on YouTube, so put it in the comments if you think I missed something. We'll be doing these type of videos every now and then and talk about stuff. Can I switch on my recruitment provinces? There's the Isthmus of Lastria. This is where I put all the big stuff, plus the Temple Guards with the Weapon Crafters Commune. And I have the Mako Pix with the Razordons and the Sacred Croxigors. Okay, boys, this is it for the Warhammer today. I'm gonna take a short break and zombie mode Pair of Exile for the rest of the day. I'll see you again with the next episode of Hexatl tomorrow or later with PoE. Thanks for watching.